Happy Wednesday, everyone. Or maybe not happy for some. I hope you're all doing well. It is Wednesday, November 6th, 2024. Welcome to Myles Dyer Live. I'm Myles Dyer, where every week we just hang out and talk about all sorts, from the fun to the serious. And my goodness, might it be a serious one today? I think it'll be a mixed bag. So for anyone that's watching on replay and is looking back in a time machine, yesterday was the US election. And so for me, it was kind of like the elephant in the room. I don't know if that's a pun, actually, because isn't one of the symbols an elephant, or is it another animal? I never understand the animals that are on the Republican Democrat things. Is it a donkey and an elephant? Is that it? How terrible am I with my political understandings of the US system? But yeah, so look, I'm just going to keep it real. I wasn't going to be able to avoid it as a topic today, but I didn't want to take it head on. I didn't want to talk about like the election specifically, although that definitely will come up in the conversation, no doubt. I was today thinking about a topic that sits adjacent to it. And for me, when it comes to politics, yes, we have the sort of the cross-section in which elections happen, obscene amounts of money get spent, there is a lot of vitriol, there is a lot of judgment, there's a lot of finger wagging, there's a lot of euphoria and heartbreak. But at the end of the day, politics is the mechanism that we try to coordinate society and try and make things better, not worse. But obviously we don't always see that happening. Politicians get things wrong all the time. We often see a lot of waste in government, but we also see some amazing programs as well. And so what I wanted to do for today's episode, and look, I'm someone who has definitely covered a lot of US politics in the past, and I have no qualms with talking about it. Today, I just wanted to reflect on the bigger picture. And so for me, I was thinking about hope and despair, because as I was absorbing today some perspectives from people that like I follow and tune into, but also just having conversations with people I know, there is a lot of despair among some portions of the population, and there's also a lot of optimism against others. And so for me today, I thought, what is it that all of us on an individual basis like are hopeful about? Like, what in life can we be hopeful about? And it doesn't have to be the grand things. It can be small things. It could be things in our local communities. It could be things with our family. It could be the day-to-day. Like, I'm hopeful that tomorrow I'm going to have another healthy day where I get to go out and do what I do. And I know what you're thinking. I'm talking about vitamin G already. But then also, it's a question of what things do we despair about. And so I'm definitely going to share things I'm hopeful about and things I definitely despair about in the world. And so I just kind of wanted to have the conversation there. Now, look, the conversation about the election will come up, and we've spoken about politics and contentious issues before, and I have no qualms with us doing it again. And so if we do that, all I ask is, as always, people just stay respectful. Doesn't mean you have to agree with everything. But for me, it's all about just keeping things constructive. Things I get so tired about seeing online is the whole thing of like, oh, I'm so happy seeing people being upset. And, you know, oh, it's good to see like this, you know, these people like shoving it in their face and stuff. And I just find it incredibly depressing and unhelpful. So yeah, that was a bit of a long spiel for an intro for an episode, but I just kind of wanted to lay the groundwork. But before I get on with housekeeping, as always, I'd just like to say, if you're watching right now, do hit the like button and do subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of all future Wednesday shows, because I'm always here talking about all sorts. Sometimes we just like rank pizza toppings, you know? That's something to be hopeful about. And other times we talk about things like mental health and well-being, life hacks, technology advancements, all sorts. And obviously today we're going to be talking about hope and despair. So with that, I'm just going to say a massive hello to everyone in the chat. While I'm also trying to get, I'm just trying my Steam Deck to work, but it's currently not working at the moment. I don't know why. I'd like my buttons to work. It's turning on, but it just keeps coming up with the same thing. Why is it doing that? Let me have a look here. I don't even know if I've got the app on here anymore. Is that what the issue is? Sorry, people. This is such a boring intro. Let's have a look here. All right, anyway, I'm going to start saying hello to people in the chat, and then I'm going to be pinging a lot of people giving lots of thoughtful things already. But from the top, I want to say hello to Chrome Colossus, Mojo, hello, Callie Timecat, Fifth, I want to get back to you because I've just seen a comment from you and sending much love your way. We've got Kira Cat Lady, we've got Nashi, we've got Clem Fandango, and we've got Dominic, hello, we've got... lots of discussion here. Salvador, hello to you. Kill Artist, the Dreamweaver Game Cat, good to see you here. Alex, good to see you, buddy. Agramonia and Canic Tunes came in late. That's fine. Few comments coming in. Oh, and by the way, how are some of you already working on the puzzle? It's because by now you know what the URL is going to be, right? I hadn't actually added it in the chat, but you got ahead of it. There it is in the chat right there. This week's puzzle. All you need to do is go to that link and you will see I can't even press the button to show you the puzzle feed because of... Wait, I could probably do it here. Ta-da! This is where it will take you to. And so you basically... It's a nice, easy one this week. You press a block, you press another... and you basically build the thumbnail of this video. Look, I'm gonna help you out a little bit, or am I not? Am I actually making it worse? But yeah. Oh, here we go. And if it no, I am making it worse. I take that back. Terrible me. So yeah, have a go on that. I'm literally having to manually press the different things. Right? How do I go back to host cam? I don't want to press the countdown one by mistake. That would be terrible. Let me just one more time. Oh, here we go. Firing it up. There we go. Hooray! I've got it now. Hello. Sorry, people. Really unprofessional of me. Do you know I had a little nap before I came on this live stream? I am absolutely shattered, knackered, as we say in the UK. Super tired at the moment, so I'm hanging on a thread right now, so thank you for bearing with me. But I have been doing a lot of live streaming lately. I say a lot. I did 3 live streams in the last 2 days because I played a really silly game, a couple of silly games, and I played an absolute awesome one yesterday. I'll show you some clips about that in a bit. But just going to your comments, do housekeeping, talk about all the other stuff, and then we'll jump into the topic. But Fifth, I hope you don't mind me putting this on camera. You put it in the chat. It says, have 1 week to find a new job. Don't have dollar for next week's rent. This is a timely chat, Myles. Well, firstly, I've seen a lot of people saying a lot of love your way and suggestions. For me, this is the thing I always say to friends, family, anyone that's going through hardship in terms of job hunting. And I appreciate that this is not a guarantee. But I find that there are so many of these websites where you like upload your CV or your resume, as you call it in the States. And then it just gets sent out on the masses and you just get lost in all the noise. LinkedIn has in many ways supported me in getting quite a few jobs or opportunities in the last few years. And so I would say definitely jump on LinkedIn, use their job piece and have a look around there because you can search by like distance. Obviously, there's a lot of remote work stuff as well. That is something I would highly recommend as a starting point. I'll let you respond to that before I suggest any more, because often in situations like this, especially with people that you don't know personally, we often hear stuff of people that suggest a lot of things that you've already been thinking about, and even though it comes from a good place, when you're in those tough situations like you are, hearing stuff that you've already tried can be frustrating because it's like, I'm wasting time with this. So yeah, if you haven't, I highly recommend checking out LinkedIn. Kill Artist said on the topic, unfortunately, the US, we have not got any great choices for leadership. However, I cannot change or affect it, so cannot worry about it. I have a lot to focus on bettering my life and those in my life. I love that sentiment. And can I just add to it? I actually was speaking to a friend last night about this who was having major anxiety, and they asked me if I had any advice, and I gave advice that I've spoken about. I think I've done an episode on it here. I've done an Instagram reel on it. I did a full YouTube video on it. It was something I learned in cognitive behavioural therapy, and it's called the worry tree. And maybe this is a good piece to sort of put in there at the start when we're going to be talking about despair. But the worry tree consists of asking yourself 2 questions whenever you find yourself worrying or anxious, okay? The first question is, can I do something about it? So you are anxious about something right now or worrying about something. Can I do something about it right now? There's 2 answers to that. One of them is no. I can't do anything about it right now. In which case, or it's actually, sorry, I've even messed it up. The first question is, can I do anything about it? And if the answer is no, it's not about letting go. That was something that I used to tell myself a lot growing up, and I realised it was a mistake. Letting go is a really hard thing to do psychologically. If you ever tell people not to do something or not to think about something, you have a high predisposition to, think about it even more. So instead, if you can't do anything about it, it's about shifting your attention onto something else. Ideally, something you do have control on. So is it going for a walk? Is it doing a different activity? Is it having a comfort food? All these kind of things. So shift your attention to something else. But if the answer is yes, you can do something about it, and this is where you'll realise where I was getting muddled up, the second question you ask yourself is, can I do something about it now? And if the answer is no, write it down, do a reminder for when you might have the ability to do something about it, and then shift your attention to something else. And if you can do something about it now, take action. Take action. It's not guaranteed, but it will get you a step in the right direction. So I just related to that when Kill Artist mentioned it. But thank you for that, dude. Alex says, I'm generally optimistic when thinking about the future of humanity. There's a lot of despair out there, but I see more evidence of people who just want to live, love, and be happy. And I do find that in the big picture stuff, just relating to that, when we look at the news, we look at the attention economy that thrives on engagement, which is all about tapping into our amygdala, the part of the brain which is emotional and is highly sensitive to anger and pain. When we get tied into all that sort of stuff, it's easy to see all the despair and get eaten alive by it. But as you say, when you speak to people that you know, when you see amazing people in your communities, there are a lot of wonderful people out there. And I found actually working in a wide variety of industries in the past, yes, on the face of things, you see these politicians, and politics is a power game. It's about power struggle, and that's where things can get really ugly. But behind them are teams and organisations, NGOs, and it's very easy to give them all a broad brush and go, oh, NGOs, who likes them? There's a lot of amazing people working in these organisations, a lot of incredibly clever people that are making great change, because something we see again and again is things happen from the grassroots. And regardless of what you think of, for example, Donald Trump, is yes, there was a lot of funding in that from big business and pieces, but so is that on the Democratic side. But he has a grassroots bottom-up movement, and that has a lot of power. So there's a lot to be said there as well. But yeah, I am definitely a mixed bag, and obviously that's what we'll talk about on this in a bit. Before I get to housekeeping, I just want to make sure I'm covering a few other things. Alex, I love a good quote. The true heart can tough the poison of hatred without being harmed. Since beginningless time, darkness thrives in the void, but always yields to purifying light. I always like these plays on darkness and light, especially like light is the best disinfectant when it comes to things, and a lot of people are agreeing with it there. Hope the nap helped. To be honest, I'm terrible when it comes to naps, and I shouldn't be drinking red wine, right? But also, I had a big burrito for dinner, and that killed me big time as well. Big time. Kill Artist says, Miles, I got to get a little time in Batman Arkham Shadow before watching Gamescast. Well, you go do that, man. You go do that if you need to. I hear it's an amazing game. I haven't played it yet. Hello, Ciago Guitarist. Hello to everyone who's still joining. Lovely to have you here. Right, just going to get on with a little bit of housekeeping. Now I've got my buttons here. If you like the music you hear, check out Myles Dyer Live music on Spotify. Just search Myles Dyer Live or use the QR code. It's all there. Check it out. Always adding music every time I find some new stuff, especially from Monster Cat. If you like the people in the chat, there's a few nice people in there, I suppose. Go to Empathy Arcade on our Discord. It's a good place to chat, especially between the episodes, because when this closes and the live chat goes, it's somewhere to hang out. And on the last Wednesday of each month, when we do a Q&A, after the Q&A, we all hang out in voice chat and play games, which we did for the first time last week, and it was a really good time. So big shout out to everyone who came there. Feel free to support the channel if you want by becoming a member. Always appreciate memberships, or you can get some lovely merch on the Quest for Empathy store. Check it out. And then finally, let's play every PSVR 2 game. I am starting to play PSVR 2 games and live stream them again. I did Phasmophobia. I did Horror Adventure VR. I did Horror Adventure Zombie Edition VR, which I think is the worst game on PSVR 2 right now. Absolutely unbelievable. And then I did Metro Awakening last night, and that game, I didn't have high hopes. Oh no, it's not that. I wasn't hyped for it because there's just so many games coming out. I was expecting it to be a decent game, but I was absolutely blown away. And I'd never played the Metro games, but cleaning your mask with your hand was so VRAF. And they also had something I don't like in VR games: spiders. The lighter. Oh, there's spiders in here. Ah! There was one on my face. Oh no, I don't like spiders. Yeah, it was really good. So thanks everyone for tuning in. I actually did that between 2 meetings I had at work, so I think I had an hour and 10 minutes. I definitely would have played a lot longer, even though I got up to the spider bit. Although I have to say, the spiders are horrible. They're like on your hands and everything. But, sorry, Cosmodread is still the most horrific thing I've ever experienced in VR. I really don't like it. And for those that are wondering what I'm on about, it's this. So is it in there, or is it in one of these? Shit! Jesus Christ! The spider was in there. Oh man, that was horrible. And then let's just go back to when I start going back in there. Did I kill it though? No, fuck! Fuck's sake! Die, you man. Jesus Christ. Yeah, those were horrible. That game I generally can't play. I can't play because the spiders are just... It's the way they move and everything. And it's the fact that... I think it's because in Metro, the spiders, they're constantly moving about. Spiders scare me most when they're still. It's that tension, right? It's what they're going to do next. And in there, they're completely still. And then they suddenly move. And that... it's horrible. And I am completely aware it's hilarious seeing me scared, and I'm always happy to do it for people's amusement. So, yeah, there is that. Popsicle says, I'm waiting for reviews of the PlayStation Pro before I make a decision to get one. Mine is currently en route. I got an email today saying it's been dispatched, so I should be getting mine tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to getting it set up and then thinking, actually, what do I want to play on it? Yes, Kira, they do. They sit there menacingly, not paying rent, acting like they own the place. It's horrible. So yeah, VR spiders I think would absolutely wreck my day. And on Cosmodread they have an arachnophobia mode, and for those that don't know, in a lot of games they have it where it changes like the spiders into circles or spheres, so it's easier for people to deal with who don't like spiders. But in Cosmodread, if you put arachnophobia mode on, excuse me, if you put arachnophobia mode on, I've been told it turns everything into spiders, which is horrific. Horrible, horrible, horrible. By the way, great work on the puzzle. By the way, you're pretty close. It's just those bottom bits. You've got what 23 bits to go. Good going. Farpoint spiders. Yeah, they were pretty intense as well. As an arachnophobia, yeah. Well, there you go. That's it. They do. Some do have it, including kill it with fire. You can have that whole game where I think they're just blobs instead. Because the spiders in it, really, really something else. A lot of spiders in VR game. Right. Anyway, people, now for the main topic about hope and despair. So, I feel like we could have done a poll on this. All right. Do you know what? We're gonna do a poll on this. Let me just fire up. Here we go. Let me put it here and start a poll. And how are you feeling about the future? Hopeful. I can't even spell pessimistic. Oh my goodness, what's wrong with you, Myles? What's wrong with you? Pessimistic. Somewhere in the middle. There we go. How are you feeling? That's what we've got there. How are you feeling about the future? Hopeful, pessimistic, or somewhere in the middle? Now, the future can mean a lot. You're saying, how are you feeling about the future? As in, like, well, I'm feeling pretty good for the next 30 minutes because Myles Dyer Live is awesome. Or it could be for the next 10 years. Some people saying indifferent. And indifferent's fine, actually, because it goes back to the worry tree about what you're in control of. And there is something to be said about society that, as individuals, we might not feel that we have much sway or power. And so it's about just keeping to ourselves. And I'm not saying you're saying this, Looper, who just said indifferent. But it's kind of like, just go with the flow within my own vicinity. These are the things I have control of. So these are the things that I'm going to do. I, as many of you know, I used to be a proper activist many, many years ago. Used to do a lot of videos online about politics, especially US politics. And you just got hit under so much fire, and it just made me an anxious mess. Like, X was just a cesspit. I don't love X as a platform overall, but the X community I'm tied into now with the VR community, I think is awesome. It's totally my jam. I like it. But how it used to be for me, I was an anxious mess with it. I hated Twitter. It ruined me psychologically. James says, I think we're sliding into cyberpunk with great technologies and not so great societal environment. So for me, look, I'm just going to be completely upfront and real with everyone. And some people might find this quite surprising for me to say, because this is quite a dark thought. I am someone that occasionally, and I would say maybe once every 2 or 3 months, and it obviously depends on what's happening in the news, I get acute environmental anxiety about the state of our planet and what we're doing to it. I follow a lot of people that work in the space, and I see the graphs, I see the data, and I even remember when I was in primary school. So I get really fascinated with the debate about climate science. And for me, there's just 2 points I have to it. One is the greenhouse effect. This in the UK is like GCSE. You learn this when you're 14, 15, and some people go, oh, so you're getting brainwashed as a kid. It's just science, man. We live in a globe. There is an atmosphere. Within that atmosphere, there's only so many molecules, and it's contained. Because if it wasn't contained, all the oxygen would evaporate into into space. Like, there is an atmosphere that we have, and that is how we're able to survive. And it's just a simple fact that if you keep pumping carbon dioxide on an literal industrial scale into the atmosphere, it traps heat and it warms the planet up. And warming the planet up has some benefits in some ways, but for the most part, it's absolutely disastrous. And the reality is, we're not sensing a lot of the issues because we have a giant sponge on the Earth. 2/3 of the Earth, is it? That's ocean. The ocean is absorbing so much heat. And this is why we're seeing hurricanes and things like that. And the problem is, when we start seeing the effects of climate change, that is based on things that happened so many years ago. So the point is, when it gets to a tipping point, in terms of we see the tipping point, it's already too late. So I just say that as a first point. Like, the greenhouse effect is absolute paramount. But the second point I make to people is, all right, let's forget climate change. What about pollution? Like clean air, clean water? Don't we want like clean air? Don't we want to see... Have you ever been out in the countryside and looked up and seen the stars? Like on a really clear sky where you're not dealing with smog and stuff like that? It's the most beautiful thing ever. And we don't get that a lot. But having a clean environment... In the UK, we have terrible stuff with our privatised water system that's a monopoly, like literally pumping sewage into our rivers and our oceans. Horrible, horrible, horrible stuff. It's terrible. And so, like, I'm just prefacing that to begin with because I know there are people that have mixed feelings on climate change. For me, this is like the crux of my despair, is ultimately, and I was talking about the amygdala earlier, the emotional part, we do have foresight as human beings. We have memories. We can look in the past. We can learn and we can invest in the future. But we are very much creatures of habit. And it's very hard to create new systems and new behaviours, especially with huge populations of people, especially with structures that are hard to evolve, political systems. I mean, for example, what happened with the Democrats last night, for me, doesn't come as a surprise because the Democrats are incredibly weak. They are uninspired, and they're using old playbooks when Donald Trump's using new playbooks. He's using new media and everything, and it's just depressing because the Democrats will always point the blame and never do any self-reflection themselves, and I just think shame on them. So that's what I feel. But coming full circle to my point about the environment, I am someone who I don't have an actual timeline on this, but I could see it foreseeable that like in 8 years' time, we have a day where the insect population just starts going freefall. Insect population. I mean, you always hear these things about, do you remember when you used to go outside and there were like flies everywhere and stuff? You know, you drive and they're always hitting your car, and we don't really see insects about much anymore. The insect population is already going down significantly. And we live in a world that is an ecosystem. And an ecosystem means all the plankton, all the bacteria, all the small things you can't see, they get eaten by bigger things. And they get eaten by bigger things. And then that is the food chain. And if insects die out, that kills off pollination. It kills off our food supplies. And for me, it's like, yeah, the earth is heating up and areas of the world are becoming unbearable to live in. And it's absolutely terrible. And I can say that from a privileged position of someone who can, invest in aircon and, lives on an island and stuff like that. But yeah, as Callie says, biodiversity has dropped so much. And I can see it that, I mean, things are accelerating much quicker than we actually first thought. But I could see it that by the end of the decade, we see insect populations go into free fall, and we literally have global chaos where people are fighting for food because bread baskets out the window, crops depleted. And so then it's a question of, can we create nanobots that take the jobs of of bugs and do it instead? Can we use hydroponics? Can we use vertical farms? These are all things I've advocated for the last 15, 20 years. I'm a big proponent of a resource-based economy. We can do an episode about that another time with the work of people like Jacques Fresco, or the late Jacques Fresco. I'm all for it. But this whole idea of like, yeah, technology will fix it later down the line. I then get anxious about the idea of like, we see that when there's heat waves and like roads are melting, or the runways are not usable by planes, or the train tracks buckle and trains can't be used. You know, we could get to a point that before we can put in the solutions, technical solutions, we already have created an environment where that stuff can't exist. And so, yeah, that is me kind of giving you where my despair is. Like, forget the politics, which is a very big part of it, and having climate change deniers is definitely a massive step backwards, because humans feel like, we can live above this. We are nature. We're not above it. We have to live with this ecosystem, and that is what terrifies me from time to time. So when I think about what I can control, it's living in the now, and, you know, signing petitions, have conversations, fund things I believe in, all sorts of pieces like that. Other people are mentioning like deep sea mining and, you know, the depletion of our oceans. Like if the ocean dies, we die. It's as simple as that. And we are not living sustainably, which is really, really sad. However, and before I throw it out to everyone, I want to hear everyone's actually in the chat, people type in capitals hope and then something you're hopeful for, or despair and something that you despair about, and then I'll save them, and then I can make sure I don't lose them, and then I'll reflect on them after this. The reason I want to give the positive is because depending on where I start a conversation, and in this case I've started it from an area of despair, I might have people go, Myles, you're so pessimistic. And then I'm like, oh yeah, but that's because I haven't had a chance to tell you what we can do about it. Like, I do have optimism, the fact that we have the ingenuity, we have the passion, and we have the know-how to completely transform society. So there's that. But then if I start with a positive of what I'm positive about, people go, oh, Myles, you're such an optimist. Open your eyes, there's all this terrible stuff. And I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, I've started with the positive case, but I haven't got into what the challenges are or what the risks are if we don't allow this to happen. And so it's a bit of a mixed bag for me. So anyway, the positive case for me and what I'm hopeful for, I've already touched upon already, so I won't go into too much detail. But it is the fact that I've met people in a wide variety of industries who are brilliant people that are working on solutions, institutions, and when I say institutions, I mean like new institutions, or systems that can radically transform the world for the better. And in some cases, it's indirect. So, for example, I work with a lot of brilliant people in the VR space at Impact Reality. Shout out, Impact Reality! And Flat to VR. Gaming. Gaming is very important. But you're also working on technology that is going to allow improvements in software and hardware so surgeons can operate on people from the other side of the planet, so people and architects can map out maybe an area that is uninhabitable and then plan with AI exactly how they are going to terraform the area. Like, there are those kind of solutions, and so that is a big part of it, and all the hope and despair pieces are coming in. So thank you for sending these, people. I love this. Let's have a look. Cool. Thank you, people. I'm adding these. Michael says, we do think about our children. That's why we vote Trump. So, like, you might be completely right, but, like, for me, that's an empty platitude. I don't know what it means, and I find it weird the way people type names in all caps like that. But, yeah. I'm happy for you to elaborate, man. But like, for anyone that cares about the environment and I've already mentioned there's a lot of people that don't. Trump is a massive backward step. And just to let you know, the Democrats, what they were doing, I mean, to be honest, the Inflation Reduction Act had a lot of proposals for investment in manufacturing in the US for renewable energy efforts and things like that, but they were also fracking more than previous administrations. They weren't doing enough, but they would, when you make a choice at election, it depends on a wide range of issues. Like, there might be a lot of things you like about one party, but then, there are things you don't like as well. So I'm not here saying it's an easy choice for everyone, especially if you're someone, for example, that is incredibly concerned about what's going on in Gaza. Right, I'm going to read some of these. Cool, let's have a look here. What we got? Siago says, hope, as capable as we are of darkness, evil, heinous acts, there's also human kindness, love, endurance, empathy, altruism. I'd always argue while dark equals louder, light equals stronger, more resilient. It's an interesting point, really. Like, the loudness on the fringes is often like not where the strength is. It's always like, the majority of people that voted for either party yesterday are people that don't ever talk about politics online or anything, or or post in live chats about who they're voting for and stuff. They will be people that are just living day-to-day lives, and then election comes around and they post on it. And that is how the most of society is. Like, people that like follow it on a day-to-day basis, and I definitely get like that with US elections and stuff like that. Most people don't act in that way. So I definitely think there is this sense that there is this strong, resilient society. I mean, whenever you see disasters happen, it's a great example. The way that people can come together and help each other is always incredible to see. And at the end of the day, this is how humans thrived from the beginning, is we worked in tribes. I do believe strongly in individual freedom, but the idea of like not living as a collective would be to disregard everything that got us to where we are. Like, I just remember when the movie I Am Legend came out, and this sounds like a really weird diversion. When the movie I Am Legend came out with Will Smith, I went to see it when I went to see my ex in Seattle, and I remember we were getting on a flight and I had a newspaper on the flight home, and it was about the movie, and there was an article in there about what would happen if you were the last person alive in like New York City or anything. And it gave you a day-by-day account, and it was very interesting on how quickly like the city would burn down, because society, like, you have firefighters and things like that, and like fires can occur naturally all the time, and so it talks about like how things decay and how society is constantly lifting things up, and I found that really, really interesting, and so it really plays into that thing of community and resilience and all those pieces as well. Michael says Trump built billion-dollar casinos and hotels. He knows how to manage. That is what we need. That's hilarious, man. I thought you were serious at first, but now I realise you're just being satirical. So that's hilarious. Hey, thanks, Ash. Good stuff. Always happy to say that. Let's have a look. We got some hope stuff here. Not a lot of despair. Not a lot of despair typed. Let's have a look here. Delta Charlie says, hope one day we realise that we get divided, so we can't come together for a real change. It's an interesting one, really, because AI is going to make it increasingly easy to manipulate people. I haven't actually seen The Social Dilemma on Netflix by Tristan. The last name escapes me, but I did, and I talked about it on this, the AI dilemma, and what social media has done to our brains. I mean, just look at what it's done to Elon Musk. Elon Musk, I used to be a huge respecter of, and in many ways I still respect some of the stuff he does, but mate, his brain is just rotted. Like, you can tell that he is just living on X and just responding to just the most absurd stories and messaging. And I've seen it with people in my life, people that read particular or get their news from particular areas. and I'm trying not to bring out all my psychology learnings to the forefront here, but if you read like a newspaper that all their like headlines are in all capitals and they're very simplistic, like this is good, this is bad, this is evil, this is scum, all this sort of stuff. 90% of language, people think language is all about the way you communicate with each other. 90%, I think that's what Noam Chomsky said, great linguist. I think it's like 90% of language is all about your inner monologue. It's how you talk to yourself, it's how you think. And so that requires vocabulary. And so if your vocabulary and the way that you see grammar constructed in front of you when stories are told about the world, and they're done in very black and white ways where it's good and evil and stuff like that, and there's no nuance, then how are you ever going to have a nuanced perspective on society? How are you ever going to say, yeah, that bit's good and that bit's not so much, so there's all this complexity here? Instead, it's like, that's bad, that's good. And that is definitely what's getting funneled through, because that is how the algorithms work. It works out what things make you tick, and it will keep serving you it again and again and again. I'm fed up of seeing all the fake AI generated TikTok videos showing giant sea creatures. I get that as well. Does anyone else get that? I've seen so many. Actually, I don't use TikTok, to be honest, but I see it a lot on Instagram. All these like giant sea creatures that have been holed out the water. It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's been wild. It's been wild. Yeah. Right, cool. Do you know Idiocracy? I only saw when I went to see my friend Amal in Alabama last October. We watched it, and yeah, I thought like it's a fine movie, and yeah, a lot of people have been mentioning it recently, and yeah, and that is true. It's what people do. Elon bought X not because it was financially viable, though he might have thought it at first. He did it because then he gets to control the bigger system. The amount of Elon Musk like notifications and things I get on my feed, even though I don't follow him and everything, is unbelievable. Like he's just like cranked the algorithm. And you know, that's propaganda 101. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. Just having a look here. Well, we got a despair. We got a despair here. Well done, Mojo. Despair that it's too late to try and help to make a good future for our species and the world we live in. It's definitely not too late. And actually, when it comes to climate change, we are beyond the point of like stopping hitting the 1.5 degrees centigrade. We are way beyond that. I think we're on track for 3 degrees centigrade now. Like 1.5 would have been disastrous, but like it was a tough goal to go for. We're going to overshoot 1.5 at the moment. I think now we're like trying not to hit 4 degrees, but it's going to be absolutely catastrophic. Absolutely catastrophic. The reason I brought that up, because you were saying despair and I was saying don't despair, was because, yes, sorry, that is, I love it. I was like, yeah, I'm just going to counter your despair by just laying out loads more despair of why it's so much worse than you think. No, it's because the strategy now isn't prevention. It's, what's it called? Acclimatization, like management. Like, how do we live in that new world? And so someone earlier was talking about cyberpunk, and I guess it is in many ways. Like, how do we live in a world? Like, our home's going to be built differently. What technology can we use to be sustainable? Like, and there will be technologies that come up in the next 10 to 20 years that will improve things. But unfortunately, as Stephen Hawkins warned about, and I will see if I can find the Stephen Hawkins quote. Here he is, and this futurist who, let's find it here. This is the quote I was thinking of. The late Stephen Hawkins before he died. Where was the quote? Please don't be an article where it. No, they have put. Do you know when they do an article and they take a quote and what they do is they break it up into like 3 sections just so they can write around it. he basically says, if machines produce everything we need, the outcome will depend on how things are distributed, he wrote. Everyone can enjoy a life of luxurious leisure if the machine-produced wealth is shared, or most people can end up miserably poor if the machine owners successfully lobby against wealth distribution. So far, the trend seems to be toward the second option, with technology driving ever-increasing inequality. And there we go. And there we go. And that is what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to. We have the means and the know-how. I mean, oh man, do I play the Jacques Fresco clip? Because actually, I will play it. I will play this clip in a bit. Do you know what? Let me download it. It was actually in one of my band's music videos. Have I got it on my Mac? Right, I'm just going to download this, people, so I can play it directly on the live stream. Here we go. Oh, dude, dude, this is 50 years ago now. My goodness. Yeah, I can't wait to show you this. I think this is actually going to be a perfect video to show on this live stream. And I can't believe we're at 10 minutes to the hour already. I had a load of topics to talk about on how to manage it and how to coordinate it. But here we are. I didn't know that is... definition of cyberpunk is high-tech, low-life. Right. Fifth says, hope is karma. I want to do a video about karma. I believe in karma, but not in a spiritual sense, like in an actual sense. And I have a couple of examples of why. Paradise says, always hope, the sim needs it. Well, didn't you hear that thing about when David Bowie died? It ripped a hole in space-time, and that the world has been going to shit since then. We had a pandemic, Brexit, all this sort of stuff. Hope. AI helps us guide us out of our human-made mess. I think so. I think that's a real possibility. But it all depends on who controls the algorithm and the information. Hope that there is people in the world that do care about the future of our species and what we can do to sustain it. So, oh man. Okay, so I'm going to do a whole episode about Jacques Fresco another time. I'm not going to talk all about it now. But Jacques Fresco was interviewed on Larry King in 1974 in Miami, Florida. And I went to see Jacques Fresco when he was like 102 years old in Venus, Florida. This was like 10 to 15 years ago. And he started something called the Venus Project. And he was interviewed in 1974 by Larry King, the late Larry King. He was an industrial designer who had all these wild ideas about how the world could run. Using technology to liberate. And this was a guy that designed things like... He designed toilets that when you flush them, they use the wastage from the sink, not clean drinking water. He designed aircraft that when they crash, they eject the fuel, because what kills people isn't the impact, it's the burning fuel. He designed these buildings that he lived in, which I went to see, which were like earthquake-proof. They were like domes, and like they were just perfect in the acoustics. So wherever you stood in the room, your voice traveled. So much amazing stuff. But this clip is like a highlight section of his Larry King thing. And what I love about it, I was blown away seeing this like 15, 20 years ago. It's now 50 years from this. But, oh man. Yeah, I really, really appreciated Jacques Fresco, and it was a pleasure meeting him. And I took my dad to see him because I wanted to make sure I wasn't... I asked my dad to come with me for my birthday because we were in Florida. I needed a lift. But I also wanted my dad to hear him. And my dad was very resistant to the ideas he was saying. But I remember afterwards when we went back to, I think it was Sarasota. We went back into the ocean, throwing a ball around. He was like asking questions, like trying to process everything Jacques was talking about, because his way of thinking is so in the future. It's just incredible. So let me just dig out this 4-minute clip. I haven't watched this in a very, very long time. So this is from 1974. I'd be curious to hear what you think about this. You ready? 50 years ago.
The entire money-structured and materialistic-oriented society is a false society. 10 or 15 years from now, our society will go down in history as the lowest development in man. We have the brains, the know-how, the technology, and the feasibility to build an entirely new civilization.
You believe that we teach competition, that it's not bred into someone?
Competition is dangerous, socially offensive, considered right and normal, because you are brought up to that value system. What kind of competition did Jesus have? What kind of competition is there in your body? Suppose your brain said, I'm the most important organ, and the liver said, I am, and I want to go a free enterprise system. You'd rot away in a month if every organ of your body went out for itself. Socio-cyberneering does not appeal to governments, to private enterprise. We're going to do this thing just as the automobile phased out the stagecoach, just as television stepped in and phased out the old vaudeville and the old motion pictures, that history and technology is respecters of no society, no individual opinions, but it moves on, and we've got to be prepared to face the future.
In your society, there are no mayors of cities.
There are no mayors, there are no politicians, and you don't have to fill out any forms to go to the arts center or music center, and you go to a university whether you can afford it or not. You don't have to use any of the systems today. Let me briefly say this. You have a bumper in front of your car, behind your car. But your society, your car's hit on the side also. You have safety belts and harnesses in your car. But that assumes that you're going to be hit by the rear or in front. If you're hit on the side, you go right through the side of the windshield. What good are these approaches? They are designed by men that are cerebral insufficients. You've got to design a society with a bumper all around the car, phase out human drivers, put electronic guidance systems in cars, or eliminate the automobile and design a holistic transportation system. We must put our mind to this as we do to put a man on the moon. We must put our mind to the social problem. We wish to get away from politics. We wish to get away from the old world method of solving problems. This is clean sources of power. By utilizing the natural heat of the earth.
Can I just say on this bit, what I love about this part here is when they show you some of his designs, they're actually holding the paper to the camera. They didn't have cutaways or anything like that. They had to like hold it up to the camera. Like, this is how old school it was. But like the fact that he's talking about automated driving cars back then, and he designed them back then, like, you know. So yeah, this guy, he was a incredible industrial designer. Man, I could tell you about some of his other inventions. He's made some incredible stuff.
That is volcanic energy, or the magma, or the molten lava under the earth, of which there are approximately 500 potentials. If we tap a mountain in Hawaii called Mount Aloha, we can get enough power to electrify the world. We can get enough power from that volcano alone. We have 500 potential volcanoes we can harness. We can use that natural heat from the volcano. No smog, no smoke, no dirt, no gases, no fuels, no oil spills, and no more burning of fuels in any city to generate power. If Japan used Fujiyama, they don't need to burn oil. They don't need oil. All of that heat is sitting there. 20 million years of power right under the Earth's surface. In fact, you don't even need to use fusion power or nuclear power. And it's easy to tap, and it's clean and available. As soon as we make up our minds to put scientists, rather than on weapons, nerve gas, on harnessing the Earth power that is already here. It would take 10 years to change the surface of the Earth, to rebuild the world into a second Garden of Eden. The choice lies with you. The stupidity of a nuclear arms race, the development of weapons, trying to solve your problems politically by electing this political party or that political party, that all politics is immersed in corruption. Let me say it again. Communism, socialism, fascism, the Democrats, the liberals, we want to absorb human beings. Women's lib, all organizations that believe in a better life for man. There are no Negro problems or Polish problems or Jewish problems or Greek problems or women's problems. They're human problems. To come into socio-cyberneering and take your part and function. We are not concerned with the divisions of segments of society.
No control of population?
Population control is dependent upon education. We feel an educated population needs no control.
You wouldn't stop sex.
No, sir.
Good move, Jacques.
I love that little wink at the end. He was he's amazing. Not perfect by any means, and there was some interesting discussions and that. I discovered him through the Zeitgeist movement in a prior life of mine. One of the other inventions I'd seen him when I went to visit his place was it's like you would build like a canal going from the ocean, so the water comes in, and then what you do is you had this like greenhouse, like it's outside, but you have this frame and this glass that goes over the canal. And what it means is the evaporation of the sunlight brings the ocean water up, hits the glass, and then it comes down into a filter. And so it was basically a way of mass filtering water from the ocean using sunlight into clean drinking water. It was awesome. And so I mentioned that cars are not the future for driving. Jacques Fresco would have agreed with that as well. I mean, Elon Musk is kind of leaning towards it now, although it does require ownership. But basically, the idea is in the future, you have less cars on the road because cars spend most of their time parked up somewhere. So we have all this metal just hanging around. People have to worry about road tax or car insurance or parking tickets, all this sort of stuff. And whereas in the future it is you need to go somewhere, car picks you up, takes you to where you need to go, then it goes pick up someone else. You don't have to worry about anything. You can get on with work and be productive while you're traveling. And it also means that by coordinating among themselves, they all know where other cars are, where the flow and concentrations are on traffic, and so things can be optimized. But we're also living in a world now where with more remote work, the idea of like everyone traveling to work during the same hour at the same time, 2 times a day is absurd, Why doesn't every house just have solar panels and heat pumps, etc., to be self-sufficient? Regulations, willpower of governments. I think that any new buildings must be completely self-sufficient. But, as is always the case, there are industrial complexes, including the housing. Houses are built at a slow rate, so the prices go up, and that will be because of mass lobbying by, the people that make so much money building buildings. That's it, really. And UK weather will impact it as well, yeah. But yeah, anyway. Guys, I can't believe we've already gone to the top of the hour. But before we start wrapping things up, does anyone have any thoughts they have for despair or optimism? For me, I just wanted to end with that Jacques thing just when it came to mind, because something that really inspired me about Jacques was he says, like, we're going to go to the lowest point in society in the next 10, 20 years. When I met him, he was still optimistic, and he worked every day until the day he died. And I just found that absolutely remarkable. So yeah, for me, it was just like absolutely incredible. I'm actually going to see if I can find the photo of me with him. I'm trying to think what year it would have been. I think it might have been 2012. Was it 2012? ...2013 maybe. So was it 11 years ago? Maybe it was a bit beforehand. Just waiting while you send things through. No, may have been a bit before. So was it 2009? No, it wasn't that far back. I want to find this photo. I'm not going to be able to find it. I'm finding all these other funny photos. Oh, well, I will definitely try and find it and look it up elsewhere. Because, yeah, I can't find it here. I know it's on my Facebook. It's definitely on my Facebook, but I can't find it among these, which is a real shame. Okay. How did the poll end? How did the poll end? I haven't played Max Mustard yet. What did someone ask? Have I passed what stage now? Let me love it. Metro Awakening will help us prepare for a nuclear winter. Love it. That's a nice thought, isn't it? I like that. I like that a lot. Man, oh, dude. Do you know, I am just going to quickly look on YouTube for this of me with Jacques Fresco. Yeah, I probably post it on my public page, actually. So if I go to photos from a long, long time ago. Yeah, I'll find it here. Oh, wait, what year was it? I've got it here. It was 2011. Okay, because there's one where it's like me at different parts of my life every year. And, oh my goodness, man, like a lot of my activisty stuff here. This is cool. Right, let's have a look. Here it is. This was... So I met him. Yeah, so I met him when he was 95. Here we go. I look terrible in this photo. But yeah, here was me and Jacques Fresco. There you go. That was me meeting him when he was 95 years old, still working. And I wrote here. This is something I wrote on his birthday. I wrote, I will never forget his answer to my question. I said, and actually this is good. This ties in nicely to what we're talking about today, people. I said, I will never forget his answer to my question. How do you manage at age 95 to keep working on projects that aim to better this planet and not feel bitter about the fact that for decades you've seen mainstream society take no notice of what is possible? He simply said, because if you do nothing, nothing will happen. And by staying focused on ways to improve this planet, you at least increase the chance of it eventually happening. It made me reflect on the times I've been frustrated and angry. Oh, that was me then saying it, that bit. But I love it. Because if you do nothing, nothing will happen. And actually, there is a Jacques Fresco quote I absolutely love. And I think I posted it on my socials here, which if it is there. Yeah. This was a quote of his that I did as a social post. And it's this. Jacques Fresco said, "If you think we can't change the world, it just means you're not one of those who will." I love that quote. I love that quote so much. If you think we can't change the world, it just means you're not one of those who will. Great man, Jacques. Yeah, it was a pleasure, and he was a big inspiration on my life, and definitely taught me a lot. So yeah, despair and hope, these go hand in hand. There's a lot of reasons to feel despair, but we can't. We can't afford to. You can feel despair, but we can't afford to like sit in it. We have to organise. We have to be proactive, and we have to do things we can to build connections, solidarity, and build a better society against the power structures that keep beating us down. And it's not easy. It's not easy, but nothing worth doing ever is. So On that note, I want to say a massive thank you for this interesting episode. It went in a bit of a direction that I didn't expect. Oh, and what is the poll result? Yeah, sorry. And while we're doing that, vitamin G. Let's hear. I mean, we've done a lot of what we're hopeful for, but what are you grateful for today, people? Let me know. Let me know what you're grateful for. And I'll get the poll results up. Here we go. So, how are we feeling about the future? Wow. 41% are pessimistic. 41% of you are pessimistic. 32% are somewhere in the middle. And only 26% are hopeful. Where would I fall? Man, it's a tough one, man. It's a really tough one, and I've had all episode to think about this. I think I live a hopeful life, but when I stop and think about it, I am pessimistic for the future. I think we've got some really bad stuff just around the corner. But I live in hopefulness, because if you do nothing, nothing will happen. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. Right, let me have a look at your vitamin Gs. Dominic says, vitamin G, people having patience with me, teaching me new things at work. That's nice. Paradise Decay says, I'm grateful we still get to live in this simulation because we must be keeping the keepers entertained. Chaos says, vitamin G, we got Metro Awakening. Hooray, hooray. Mojo says, my vitamin G, that I know people like yourself, Mr. Dyer, that have insight and ideas about how to tackle the problems that face humanity. I feel like I don't have the best ideas. No one has a monopoly on good ideas, and not everyone has best ideas. Like, it's just, they're out there. Like, the solutions to every problem exist. It's just about finding them and amplifying them. And that's the challenge that we have as individuals. Canuck says, when aliens finally visit the planet, they'll probably name it the asshole of the universe. That's nice. Nice little thought. Callie says, I am grateful to live on this side of the Atlantic. My heart goes out to everyone hurt or about to be hurt by the US election result. Much love to all. Kira says, grateful for the technology that makes it possible for me to talk to different people in different countries about things that we are all interested in. I know, technology is amazing. Ciago says, I have chili dogs for my midnight snack tonight. What are chili dogs? Is it just a hot dog with chili on top, or is the chili in the dog? I've never had one, and the only thing I know about it is Sonic the Hedgehog loves them. That's all I can think about. Cool. All right, people. I hope today was all right. It was a bit of a ramble, but we covered a lot of ground, and I do think the Jacques Fresco ending was a nice thing to end on. If you don't think we can change the world, it just means you're not one of those who will. Love it. Take good care of yourselves, everyone. Do hit the like button on your way out. A third of you haven't done it who are watching live right now, and I appreciate you, and I'm really glad to have you here every single week. Join our Discord, and I'm going to be live streaming some more this week. I've got a lot of games to get through, including Max Mustard, which I'm super excited to play. And I might jump back into Metro again if I can. But right now, all I want to do is go to bed. So on that note, take good care of yourselves. Have a good rest of your week. Love, respect, empathy, and adios. Till next time. Bye-bye, everyone.
Darkness faded.
Thanks, everyone. I have to say, I did feel a bit nostalgic doing this topic, because whenever I get back into sort of the politics side or the activisty side, it's like muscle memory. I can feel it inside me, and I'm like, oh yeah. I remember talking about this stuff and being super passionate about it, and like I do miss talking about it, but things change. It'll always be a part of me, and I'll always bring it up in the right moments. But yeah, this was cool. So yeah, just want to say massive love and solidarity to everyone out there who's going through a difficult time. For people that are feeling negative about what's happened in the US, man. I mean, me personally, I think it's a disaster for the planet. But Trump is not the catalyst; he's a symptom of inaction and complacency within our government structures. And so, I mean, I thought 2016 would have been an awakening, but clearly not. So we'll just have to wait and see. But take good care of yourselves, people, and I'll see you next time, all right? Much love.